For a resilient future. The summit is highlighting investment opportunities for American business in the region. Our business reporter Noah Kipkemboi has the details from the ongoing summit. Noah, good morning. Bring us up to date with the summit that is ongoing at the moment.
It's a very good morning to you, Fatia. It's quite interesting because every person actually and every country is very keen on having investment, because with investment there is creation of opportunities for people of our country. And since we are in a globalized society, Fatia, it becomes very critical in regards to, somebody in America can come and put an investment in Kenya, or somebody in Kenya might as well go and invest in America. That's the beauty of the world that we are in right now. And at this critical moment of recovery from COVID-19 and the Russia-Ukraine situation that we've been seeing, all these headwinds, this perfect storm offers a good opportunity for investments. That's why there is the America Business Summit, America Chamber Business Summit. And right now I'm joined by Amcham CEO, Mr. Maxwell Okoth. Good to see you, sir. Looking sharp as always. Looking at this summit that started today, what opportunities lie in Kenya for American businesses?
Well, thank you so much. So just a quick one, it's Maxwell Okello, not Okoth. Yeah. That would be somebody else. But anyway, I talk about three. ICT, that's a big one. We all know about the Silicon Savannah ambition that Kenya has. And not only is it an ambition, I think it's something that we are slowly bringing into reality. So at plenary, you heard the US ambassador to Kenya talk quite articulately and in depth about that particular opportunity. Yes. And we see depth in terms of American company participation in that space. So that's one. Two, agriculture. Yes. I think agriculture remains an area that can be deepened further. So whether you're talking ag tech or you're talking, mechanization, so implements that would go into that, or beneficiation in terms of agro processing. Yeah. So if you from production, whatever happens after that, I think those are huge opportunities that can be realized. Yeah. Thirdly, manufacturing, and specific to apparel manufacturing, so the textile space. Kenya's biggest export into the US is actually textile and apparel. However, the opportunity is other than that, the opportunity is actually in what you would call inputs that go into making a piece of cloth. So think buttons could be manufactured here, elastics could be manufactured here, labels could be manufactured here, and so on and so forth. So those are only three. However, we know energy, health, and so on. Those are all opportunities for companies.
Definitely. And, one of my specialization is baptism. I baptize people with new names. But talking about, the trade between the US and Kenya, it's quite interesting because we've had this AGOA situation going for almost 20 years, expiring in the year 2025. Almost 75% of our exports is under this. So looking at the other side of the coin, in terms of trade between these two countries, there is an agreement that is supposed to come at play. Maybe help us understand. What will be different about this agreement that we've seen the government say that they will be closing this, hopefully signed by the end of the year 2024?
Yeah. So what you're referring to is what is known as the Strategic Trade and Investment Partnership. What the government and both governments, Kenyan and the US government, have done is that prior, when we were trying to negotiate a free trade agreement with the US, and then there was a change in regime, and the new regime had to reevaluate and align that to its own, objectives. It was felt that we needed an arrangement that would help segue into something more significant, potentially an FTA in the future. So the Strategic Trade and Investment Partnership has identified, I think it's 11 areas of importance that they want to focus on, including SMEs, digital trade, good governance, good regulatory practices, and so on, that in themselves will help create stability in the business environment and the investment climate that would help enhance the bilateral trade and investment that you're talking about. So this is something that as an organization we are really, really behind, and we want to make sure that we can do our part in terms of providing input to both governments to see this get across the line, hopefully sooner rather than later.
All right. The moment you mention U.S., Kenya, first of all, people focus on the U.S., and now what comes top of mind is dollar. Yeah, and we've been having quite a challenge with that. We understand what's happening in the States with the tightening of the rates. We are having a lot of outflows from the market. Talk to me about this dollar situation, especially as a market, with investment as an avenue. Can that be one of the ways to sort of find a way to buffer ourselves in the dollar shortage environment?
Yeah, I think the dollar issue is, you've rightly captured it. It's a global issue, actually. It's not just affecting Kenya. But yeah, I want to believe so. I mean, if we can have more free flow of dollar coming in, and that could be through investment. I think the remittances are doing really well as well in dollar terms. That could be one way of not just mitigating the dollar issue, but remember, there's also a public debt challenge that we have as a country. And so moving away from, that public debt into more private sector-led investment would then give us that headroom and the space as a country to recover and then be able to get back on good standing. So I think you're spot on. It's something that would definitely provide some relief. And that's why we have this conference, right? To try and see if we can catalyze these deals, these investments to come in. And of course, on top of that, give an opportunity for our local companies to then form partnerships with counterparts from the US.
Definitely. And the world is watching as we finish up. Of course, in a vibrant democracy, there is balance. There is government, there is opposition, and ours is quite vibrant, especially at the moment with the demonstrations that we've been seeing around. From an investor perspective, especially with your talks with investors in this particular conference, is that a major concern? What does it portend for the landscape and that confidence of people putting their money into this market with the ongoing situation that we're seeing?
Yeah, as you said, it's about balance. I think Kenya has clearly shown itself to be a democratic state. And of course, in that space, then you have to allow for groups, people to exercise their democratic rights. Now, specific to your question, it is a concern. I think no one would deny that, even if you're not foreign. I think as Kenyans, we also concerned, and our hope is that this can be resolved as soon as possible. However, it is important to say that American companies think long term. And so this cannot be the one thing that would then be catastrophic to an organization that is looking at getting into the country. Because at some point, this will be resolved. Just the same way you have other challenges within the business environment, within the economy, they will be resolved. We had our elections, they've come, they've gone. Guys are moving on to the next thing. So if you take that view, that business is long term, it's taking a 5-10 year horizon, then this just becomes a hump on that road. And I think anyone who's prudent enough, if you look at our history as a country, would know that this is something that we will get over sooner rather than later.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much. I know there is, talking about long-term, Max, are there targets in terms of the amount of investment you are hoping to garner by the end of the conference, but also long-term under Amcham? Any targets that you're seeing in regards to some figures?
I think that will be unleashed tomorrow.
Ah,
Yeah.
So we wait for the president.
Wait for the president.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much, Max.
All
I
right.
appreciate it big time. Yes, it is Mr. Maxwell Okello. As he said earlier on, I baptized him Maxwell Okoth. That might be somebody who's seated at home somewhere wondering, why am I being called and I'm not there? Well, he's the CEO of Amcham, Kenya, American Chamber of Commerce here in Kenya. And he says that some of the challenges that we're seeing right now for TIA is that a lot of investors think long term and they feel the situation as it stands in the country will be resolved. So there is that confidence. But so far, so many opportunities to invest in Kenya. Talk about agri-tech, talk about ICT sector.